TMCnet at NextCon 2008.
Good afternoon. Welcome again. Coming to you live from NextCon 2008 in Las Vegas. I'm Erik Linask, sitting here with Dialogic's Jim Mackey, their Senior Vice President of Marketing and Product Management. Welcome, Jim.
Hello, how you doing? Thank you for inviting me today.
Well, thank you. Thanks for joining us. We've had a day and a half here at the show. What are you seeing at the show?
The show has a pretty good vibe to it. There's a lot going on. There's a lot about next generation services, value-added services, as I would expect here. Leads me to a question about IMS. I still see people marketing IMS. I've noticed in the past few years, IMSs mean something different than it used to. IMS, when it was first conceived, was very strict about IP multimedia subsystem, very IP focused, and there are products just for that. MRS, for instance. Today, the way I notice IMS being marketed is more about an IP something, but it still might have something to do with NGN and a pure IMS network. So I've seen the change of how people market IMS, but it's still all about services and providing services over IP, but now it's also with traditional networks, so the NGN networks. And so I think the NGN networks are proliferating, continuing to go on, and IMS pure IP networks are coming, but taking longer than we all thought. So anyway, that's one thing I get away from this show here.
Great. Is there still a heavy interest in IMS?
I would say from our perspective, there's an interest in IP media servers, and some people deploy them in pure IMS networks, or some people still have a TVM connection to it somehow. And so from my perspective, that's an NGN network. But definitely more and more interest in IP media processing, IP media servers.
I think one of the themes that I've heard over the last couple of days are various things about video.
Yeah.
You seeing that as well?
Yeah, the video market. So we sell all around the world. We're pretty big in Asia. Video in Asia is very, very big. That's driving a lot of the value-added service growth over in APAC. People are doing gaming, or they're doing video messaging, those kind of things, using 3G networks. And since the 3G networks aren't here, I think people are very interested in video here, but it's not as much revenue generation of video yet in the United States. I expect it to come, but it's a little different markets and what they're using them for.
Why do we see these differences in between the North American market and the rest of the world?
Well, I think one is the fact of the network being available, 3G network. Part of it is cultural too. I think people are used to being on their cell phones in other cultures, or on trains or whatever it is. As they commute, we're in cars, it's harder to do that. So I think there's culture things. Also, we're much more enterprise focused in terms of spending money on enterprises. And so I would expect video would come here, and it might come into the enterprise here before it gets into in APAC, maybe video conferencing, things like that, because we're used to using IVRs and unified messaging and unified communications solutions here. So that might be a difference too.
Is there you see potential for sort of personal one-to-one video communications?
I mean, we actually use it at work today. We use OCS at work, Microsoft OCS. We use it for IM, we use it for VoIP, and we have people that have cameras on their phones. I hope our IT department's not watching, because they're probably the IT department isn't officially managing them, but we have people with cameras, and that's they look at each other during calls and things like that. So definitely that's going to happen. It's happening already.
Great. Any particular trends you see moving into the future, particularly as they'll impact Dialogic?
Well, we see video become more and more important part of whatever communication solutions are out there, whatever value-added solutions are out there. So it'll become just like fax, voices, and conferencing is. Video will be just like that in a few years, and that's why we're focusing quite a bit on it. All of our customer base and prospects need it. So that's really driving a lot of what we're doing.
Fantastic.
All right.
We've been chatting with Dialogic's Jim Maki. Jim, thank you very much for joining us. And